the only Indian woman to be featured in the 50 most influential list of Bloomberg markets, Arundhati Bhattacharya first made headlines when she took over as the first woman chairman of India's biggest bank, the State Bank of India. Today, this 208-year-old bank employs over 290,000 people in more than 15,400 branches across India. So when I caught up with the chairman of SBI, I began by asking her what takes up most of her time.
If you ask me what really takes up most of my time, most of the time would be taken up in ensuring that, the various parts that move, that they move in synchronization, that they are well synchronized, and that at the end of the day we each understand what the other one needs. And therefore, there is more of a collaborative style of delivering results rather than, trying to do things in silos, which often happens in a large organization of this sort. So you constantly need to check back to see that people are in step, and the goals that we need to achieve are known, and people are working, all of them are working towards the same thing.
What is interesting about you is that you've taken some of the most critical leadership roles within the bank, but actually if you go back to your training, you studied literature. I mean, I have never met a literature graduate or a postgraduate who became the CFO of the biggest bank and now the chairperson. I mean, that's as diverse as you can get. So, starting out, did you ever think you'll be here? And what has the journey been like?
No, not really that I ever thought that I was going to be here. But when we joined in State Bank of India, the norm was to join at the staff colleges. So all of us joined in State Bank of India Staff College in Hyderabad. Let me tell you, it was a great experience, absolutely great experience. And we had a lot of people coming and speaking to us, the top management. And all of them told us that we were exactly like you. We joined at your level and this is where we have got. So this is an organization where you can go right to the very top if you can make it. And therefore, I don't think there was anybody in that room who didn't think, wow, so then I could be the chairman too. So, that kind of a thought I'm sure would have occurred to all of us in those rooms, in those classrooms. So I think something similar.
The fact that you did your master's in literature, that you did a post-graduation in literature, you're not really planning a career in banking.
Not really. Actually, what happened was I had science in school, as well as what we used to be called advanced maths then. When I went into college, I qualified for that was the first year of the joint entrance, and I was very interested in medicine as well. So I qualified for a seat in the medical college, in Calcutta Medical College. But in those days, because of the Naxal problems in Calcutta, all the courses were very badly delayed, and my father was to retire in 3 months' time. Those days, though my father was an employee with SAIL, they didn't have pensions and all, so he was not very keen on me going into medicine, which requires somebody to be supported for 8-10 years. So, and I was also very good in literature. And the principal of my school, a person whom I really revere and love, he was a Jesuit priest, Father John Moore, who set up our school. He told my father that she is extremely good in communication and she should do something in that area. And that is how I got into English actually. Though, I think the fault is more in the educational system, in the sense that you can't do maths and English both. So you had to do, if you do English, you become an arts graduate. You can't do a subject which could just as well be a science subject. So that being the case, that is how I got into literature. But having said that, as I said, one of the major advantages, I think, that you need in any organization, it doesn't matter whether it is banking or anything else, is the ability to communicate. If you are a good communicator, either in writing or verbal, it is always a major strength, and I think that has stood me in good stead.
But what is interesting is how the PSUs have been a great platform for women to come up. What do you think it is because of? Because if you look at the size of SBI, you've got over 200,000 employees, 20% are women, which is not a bad statistic at all, given if you look at it in comparison with other companies. What's worked? What has worked in allowing everybody to come up?
I think there are two things in PSUs. One, of course, is the fact that PSUs probably are a little more sensitive towards the needs of people, and they don't make a big production out of allowing people a little bit of a leeway. Leeway meaning, for instance, if you need to be with your spouse, to allow you a transfer to that place, or if you need to, for instance, currently we have also allowed people to take sabbatical should they need to look after their children or sick parents and stuff like that. The other thing in PSUs, I think, is that there is a very level playing field, in the sense that in promotions and postings, things are way more transparent than I think they are in the private sector. In the private sector, you cannot really question. Means, of course, you are given feedbacks and things like that, but you cannot question the steps that are taken, especially in the personal area, especially in the area of postings and things like that. Whereas in the PSU, things are really much more transparent and open, and therefore, if you are a good performer, there is really no reason why you can't go up.
But of course, on the flip side, you also have many transfers.
Yes.
And it could be posted all over. And you've had fair amount of postings. How difficult is that? And you see a lot of women fall out.
Actually, that is very true. That's very true. But in a pan-India organization like the SBI, it is necessary to be able to move to other parts of the country. Frankly, I have always found it very interesting. It's been difficult, but it's never impossible. And in fact, I keep telling my colleagues, that people become better if they face challenges. Today's children, because of the fact that our disposable incomes are much more than when we were children, because the standard of living in India has gone up, today's children have very few challenges. So if you challenge them by changing their schools every once in a while, it's a synthetic form of challenge, but it will make them better people. Better people, I don't know, you yourself say that you were in the military, so you yourself have had to change schools. Now, changing schools, it makes you learn the way to make friends, makes you capable of making compromises, of understanding how different people behave, how different communities act, the different cultures, the different religions, the different food. And really, it is a challenge to sort of fit yourself into a given situation, a situation that is already present. And I think these things actually stand you in very good stead in later life.
Spanning over 37 years in SBI, Arundhati Bhattacharya has been responsible for setting up several new initiatives, including some of the biggest joint ventures at the bank. So what were the turning points in her career?
One, of course, was when I got posted to New York. It was a really great experience. First of all, being in a financial center that is so vibrant and so alive, and dealing with regulators who were really at that point of time, the kind of diligence and the kind of supervision that they used to exercise even in those days. It's a huge learning experience. So I think that was one. The second was when I came back and I was in the treasury, looking after the forex treasury. It was a very comfortable position because, after all, treasury is more like a back office job for your own organization. But from there I got posted to Eastern UP. And that again was a major change and a very big challenge, because Eastern UP again is an area which is not very well connected by train or air, not connected at all by air. So most of the travel was by road, and also because the economy there was not doing well, therefore there was a problem of NPAs. On the other hand, you also had a problem of achieving top line growth. So for even 100 crore business, the amount of effort that we would need to make, absolutely humongous. But not only that, the people and how to guide them into doing things better. I used to be on the roads of UP at 2 in the night also. A lot of people have told me it's very dangerous, this, that. Anyway, by God's grace, I never had any mishaps. And it was a huge learning experience. It means going back to the roots, so to speak. Very big learning experience. After that, again, I got into a very, in fact, all my assignments from that period onwards have been very challenging, very different, and I have learnt a lot.
In fact, for the record, you've been involved and spearheaded some of the biggest joint ventures for the bank. My point is that somewhere, a lot of you who are successful have also had a entrepreneurial role to have played in the organizations that you worked for. I mean, if you speak to Chanda or Shikha or to you've driven a lot of the new projects within the banks that you've worked in. Has it helped in your position now?
Yeah, definitely it has helped. It's helped by making you feel confident about being able to do things. Because when I came in as CGM of new businesses, we had a number of businesses that we could go into. So it was a question of determining, do I want to go into it? If I do, then do I do it from inside the bank? Do I do it outside? If I do it outside, do I have a joint venture partner? If I have a JV partner, who should be that partner? And thereafter, you have to take decisions about what should be the policies, what should be the business plan, how do you recruit people, who are the people you recruit. Once you get them on, for instance, in any of the joint ventures, we'd have people from the joint venture partner, we'd have people from inside SBI, and we'd have market recruits. So there would be 3 classes of people. And how do you meld them all together in order to deliver what you need to deliver? The joint venture agreement itself that you negotiate with your partner, that itself takes a lot of skill, and it is a lot of learning again. And as I said, if you do these successfully, definitely it gives you a lot of confidence that if you put your mind to it, you can do anything. So yes, it helps.
In a sense, because you were pioneering new areas, you were in an organization that was, part and parcel of India's growth story. Do you think women of your generation had far bigger challenges and opportunities hence, and that you rode the wave? And do you think the same thing is applicable now?
See, the waves will keep coming. The waves don't stop. So you can always ride a wave. And what happened actually when we joined the financial sector was that the financial sector was just opening up. And there were a lot of recruitments, and women suddenly realized that this is one area where you could have a decent career. And probably our parents also thought, that you would be sitting inside a office, and therefore, it's a decent career to get your daughters into. And therefore, they also didn't
expect you to be driving around Eastern.
They didn't. So I think, yes, at that point of time, definitely it was an opening up for women at least. It's remained that way. So, I don't see any reason why women cannot make it even subsequently. And a lot of women still do join. But what I remain worried about, and I think it was the same in our time and it is still the same, is the fact that many of these women drop out during the entire career. And they drop out in India specifically because in India, women continue to be the primary caregivers. They are expected to keep regular hours. They are expected to really hold fort if there is a crisis at home. And these are things, if they have to do, then, very often they are not confident that they can carry out the other role equally well. And that is one of the reasons why they drop out. So we have to sort of assure them that they can do both.
So I'm going to ask you 2 questions. One, of course, you were also heading the HR function in SBI, and you've done a lot of work out there, so I want to talk about that. But on a more personal level, how do you manage? Because you also have a daughter. I've read somewhere that when, for instance, I don't know whether it was the same Lucknow posting, but when you went to Lucknow, there was a point when you almost gave up on your career, and your mentor told you don't do that, and from there was no turning back. Tell us about that, and what were your own internal challenges?
Actually, in Lucknow, the problem was, I was not too sure that I would get the right kind of school for my daughter, and that was when I was a little worried. I wanted a bigger center posting, and I was told that no, you need to go and sort of do this posting. And of course, as I said, when I went into Lucknow, I found that my fears were quite unfounded. We had a very good school over there, so absolutely no issues. But as I said, you have to make compromises, and it is not only you. the family, the spouse, the children, they all have to make compromises. So unless everybody is willing to do it, and if there is a lot of headwinds, then it becomes very difficult. Really speaking, you know, while we have made compromises, all of us have difficulties, but I didn't have those headwinds to battle against. So to that extent, I have been very lucky. I have also been very lucky to get a proper caretaker who's been able to look after the house and things like that. But I believe, you know, that most of us, if we are really and truly interested in doing something, the ways sort of opens up before you. You don't really have to make such
family support
difficult
is very
decisions.
important, and then subsequently, if you have the will, you're saying that you can find a way to do it.
Exactly, exactly.
And looking back, do you think a lot of women don't take those tough postings, those tough things? And looking at your own career, do you think it's imperative that you went through that? And looking back, if you hadn't, would it be different?
No, I fully agree with you. A lot of women would prefer protected postings because, you know, they feel they won't do justice if they take up a posting that takes up a lot of their time. And therefore, they do, you know, suffer because of that. Because these operational postings, as they are called, line postings. If you don't do line postings, it's very difficult even in an organization like SBI to get ahead. So women who are interested, they will need to do these line postings, and that often means that you stay separately from your families, or that your spouse stays in a separate place and you have the children with you. It is important to be able to do that, because again, if you don't take those challenges, you are not going to get ahead. That's also a fact.
Nowhere in our conversation has the woman issue come in, honestly, ma'am, because you've spoken about, you know, the challenges of leadership, the challenges of making your way through a career. But let me ask you, does the fact that you're a woman help you when you deal with unions, etc.? Are you more empathetic than others, and could that be an advantage? And what are the advantages that you perhaps have had as compared to your male colleagues?
Well, I don't know exactly. That probably people around me would be able to opine better on that. But I have been told that I have good EQ. So maybe the EQ is something that helps. Being empathetic, well, yes, of course, means being a woman. I think one good thing is I listen well. And I think that's something that we have done for hundreds of years. So it's a role that we automatically can do. And if you listen well, you probably can catch nuances which you don't if you don't listen well. So I think that's an advantage as well. So probably these are the two things that have helped me.
You've also driven a lot of the women-centric, policies within SBI. Take us through how the learning has been and what the learning has been, and how the way SBI treats women has changed over a period of time, since the time you joined to now, and what does it reflect of the changing times?
See, even when I joined, it is not as though the bank was not at all sensitive to the women's requirements. For instance, my husband was in Kharagpur, so I got posted to 3 branches in Kharagpur, one after the other, so that I could remain in the same vicinity. So this is something that the bank has always done. It's not something that is new. It becomes a little difficult now, because those times the number of women were small, so they could be accommodated. Now the numbers are much bigger, so the accommodation is difficult to make. But having said that, I think, over a period of time, we have tried to ensure that there is fairness in the way we deal with women. Secondly, as I told you, I continue to remain very worried about the fact that a number of women fall away as they go up in the career, and we have found that they fall away normally at 3 points of the career. One is during the childbearing years. The next is when the child is in class 10 to 12, because as you know, in India it makes a very big difference where you get in after class 12, and that 10 to 12 is a period when children are not only studying, doing their schooling, but they are also doing several other tuitions and courses and stuff like that, so as to enable them to get into the through the joint entrance examinations for colleges. So that's another period when it's a period of stress, and many women like to take a break then. And the third is when either the parents or parents-in-law fall sick. Again, nobody to look after them and they need to be at home. So that is the reason why we started the sabbatical of 2 years, which could be taken for either for the child or for people who need home care. And they can take it 3 times in a whole career. We have, by the way, extended it to single men as well, because they have the same challenges. So we've done that as well. And we believe, that somehow or the other we have to ensure that women can get back into a career after taking a break. That's the only way we will enable them to stay on. But having said that, if you really want a career to be able to reach the top of the career, taking a break would be a difficulty, because getting back into the same space again and getting back into the race, so to speak, is always very difficult.
On the whole, what do you think it takes for women to succeed? Do you think women have to plan harder? If you were to look back in your own life, do you think it was because of the roles that you took? Well, what are the 3-4 things that you attribute your success to?
See, one thing is, of course, as a woman you must have a good support structure, and sometimes you have to work towards creating that structure. And I continually tell my people that just be kind. You don't have to do anything more, because if you are kind and if you are good to people without any expectation, when you need them, they'll be there for you. Okay, so I think that is very important. Second is, you need to be a team player. You cannot afford to be indispensable, because there will be times when you will have to drop and run, be it in the house or be it in the office. So even in the house, if you don't have somebody who will back you up, if you have to attend an important meeting or if you have to go for something or the other, it's going to be a disaster. Same in the office. There would be time when somebody is very sick, you need to just cut and run. There has to be somebody who will take up the slack. So you need to be a good team player. And for that, I think, many people, they have a sense of insecurity, which doesn't allow them to share everything and allow people to sort of move together. So I think, we should reduce our senses of insecurity, feel more secure in it, and then allow people to take the lead wherever it is necessary, but be a team player. That, I think, is also very necessary. The third thing is, we should take up challenges. If you continue to doubt yourself and continue to not have faith in the fact that you can do it, then it's very difficult for anybody to push you forward. Even if you have mentors and all who are willing to sort of help you, if you don't help yourself, nobody can really help you. So I think that's also very important.
What would you say about attitude of women to their careers? I mean, do you think somewhere women give up too easily? Is that also a problem?
As I told you, there is always a doubt, can I do both? And because there is a doubt, because there is this feeling of guilt, it's easier to sort of cut one out and feel more comfortable. But I don't really think they feel comfortable. They always have a lot of regrets. I know women who have been excellent officers who have dropped their career in between because they felt that they needed to really be at home and help out in the family. They have always got very deep-seated regrets, and in fact many of them felt so glad when I made it, merely because they felt that they could have done the same had they not sort of dropped out. So I think that feeling of regret is very genuine, even for those people who drop out.
Last set of questions. Of course, SEBI and the Companies Act mandates women on board. If there was one thing that we could do in the next 5 years to encourage women to naturally come into the boards, what would it be?
What would be the one thing would be for them to actually actively look for these things. See, one of the reasons why women don't get these positions is because they don't network. Getting into board positions is a function of having good networking. It's normally the network that recommends that this person is good and you should have him on the board and their contribution is good. Women don't have this network, and therefore I think one of the major things that we need to do is to start this networking. It's very important.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.